Hey guys, and welcome to video number 2. In our first video, I outlined a plan for how to understand what you may be doing wrong with your dog that's causing the behavior problems. I hope you're able to take some notes and see what you may need to change with your dog. If you recall, I talked about how the challenge for most people isn't finding dog training ideas to solve their problems. Anyone can find plenty of info on the internet or library on how to train their dog. The problem is being able to find methods that work and being able to put them together in a step-by-step way in order to have success. In today's free training, we're going to uncover two things. Number one, how to establish your dog's baseline. If you do this right, it becomes so much easier to get your dog trained in 60 days. And number two, my complete 60-day blueprint. This is the exact schedule that we use with our clients to help them see their transformation in 60 days. Remember, as the inventor of this program, we are in a unique position to help you put a stop to all your dog's bad behaviors. No more dealing with obedience problems or barking or aggression or destruction. It truly is within your reach within the next 60 days. In fact, here's the experience of a recent graduate named Rachel. We started training on October 6, 2014 with her dog Zoe. Zoe was a dog with a mountain of anxiety who pulled on the leash, growled and barked at people in public, jumped on people, and hadn't been able to go in public for months due to bad behavior, including aggression towards people and getting overexcited when she saw dogs. On October 7th, I received the following email. So this is literally the next day after starting. It says, "Ty, oh my goodness, what have you done to my dog? I stopped at PetSmart on the way home to get the supplies you told me to get, and I couldn't believe Zoe. One of the videos I sent you is me walking Zoe in PetSmart." Now here she's referring to some videos that she sent me before training so that we could show a before and after. In that video, she's looking all over, sniffing everything, mind off on some party somewhere in her head. One of the videos, I pass a dog in PetSmart and she's pulling on the leash thinking it's party time. Today, I had her wait at the door before we entered. Actually, I had her wait before getting out of the car. We then walked to the store and had her wait at the door. She did try to come in after the first command, but I gave her a quick check. She was golden in the store. I couldn't believe it. She wasn't trying to sniff everything. She had her eyes on me, focused on me. When I went to check out, a lady came in with two dogs that were in crazy mode. Big dogs pulling on their leashes. In other words, me and Zoe before today. Zoe looked at the dogs and started to walk towards them, making her talking voice. I don't know if I did the right thing, but I immediately left my cart and started doing the crazy walk to get her attention back on me. Now here she's referring to a method we teach in week 1, which is the crazy man method. You'll learn more about that in our next video. It took 2 seconds and she was back focused on me. Awesomeness. I had a thought on the way home. I think I'm going to buy a bed. I think I'm going to buy Zoe a bed for the car too. Normally she's all over in the car. I don't let her up front, but in the back she's going from window to window, checking things out. I think I'll get her a bed for the car, and she has to stay on the bed while in the car. Anyway, thank you again for today. So far, so good. Oh, and the UPS man came. I set her up and opened the door wide and told her to wait. She did. Yep, very cool. I can't believe the difference, and this is just one day. When the doorbell rings, she gave one bark, and that's it. We'll see how tomorrow goes when the honeymoon wears off, but so far, I don't even need chocolate yet to survive. It's not uncommon for people to see almost immediate change with the methods that we teach. This dog owner, she wasn't a professional, but what she was able to do was follow a set of rules and guidelines that had been proven to work. Anyone can do that, even you. Now let me share this baseline training so that you can start seeing some success. I always tell people, picture your dog lives on a baseline. And you do too, we all do. And what I mean by that, on one end we've got polar opposites. On one end we've got chaos, the other end we've got control. And this is a baseline that we all live on. Sometimes we get out of control and we get chaotic, and other times we're really in control. Anyways, our dogs, can live on a similar baseline, similar spectrum here. And so I always tell people, let's split it in half. And most dogs that I meet for the first time live down here. They live on that lower half. Meaning, their life isn't as structured without as much leadership as it could be. And as a result, picture people that you know. Everyone knows that guy that he's always getting in arguing matches with people and he gets in fights and, because, he doesn't have a whole lot of self-discipline and whatnot. Anyways, he's living down here. But if you picture, like I say, the average dog, if they're already living down here and they don't have the structure that they need and they don't have the relationship that they need, now something little changes. Let's say somebody rings the doorbell. It's a short little leap to become chaotic. Or somebody stands up, in her case. It's a short little leap to become chaotic. Or for those of you watching at home, maybe your dog sees a dog, and just the presence of another dog, because they're living in the wrong state of mind, is enough for them to become chaotic. And from chaos, now in a literal sense, what happens on this end is adrenaline. And so you'll hear me talking about adrenaline and chaos and things like that. But what happens is adrenaline is the enemy of almost everything that we do. So like I say, you're here for aggression and just overall manners and obedience. For you guys at home, it's aggression or it's destruction or it's hyperactivity or not listening. All of those come from a chaotic, adrenalized mindset. To where literally, the dog gets stressed and adrenaline comes into the system and it causes the dog to want to chew, to feel better, or to get aggressive to feel better. And so in any case, this chaotic end, like I say, if our dogs are with a ton of structure, they can access that so much easier, so much faster. Whereas if she's living over here and something little changes, now it's this huge mindset difference. I mean, picture yourself. You're a nice guy, I assume. It's the first time I'm meeting you. For you to go get in a fight right now would probably take a huge act. I mean, nothing, if someone cuts you off in traffic, you're not, I'm gonna kill that guy. Where someone cuts her off in traffic, she says, no, I'm gonna kill him. You don't cut me off in traffic. So like I say, for you to do something like big and destructive or violent would take something enormous because in general, you're living over here. Now, we don't want her living over here. That's just a robot dog, a dog that's just constantly under control. In the beginning of establishing the baseline, we're going to be kind of over here. But as time goes on, we kind of want our dog, right here. Living to where there's a lot of structure, a lot of obedience. But, there's a lot of, we have fun, we do things as well. There's a lot of outlets. But that way the dog, like I say, is living in that place to where somebody cuts her off in traffic, she's not thinking murder. Yeah, even right now, she just sees somebody 40 feet away and she's like, I'm going to bark at you. Because, like I say, she's living over here. So establishing our dog's baseline is huge, and that's what these first couple weeks are going to be about. These first couple weeks will probably be the most annoying as far as the training goes. It's going to be there's a lot of work that I'm going to insist on over the next 60 days, but the first couple weeks in establishing this baseline could be a little bit annoying, but that's fine. And so what it is, like I say, is just kind of going back to everything I was mentioning before. We get that obedience, we get the leadership, and we start moving the needle on how our dog lives and how our dog perceives everything. So the first thing we're going to do and that's going back to our 60-day plan here. This first week in establishing the baseline is all about establishing barriers and impulse control. Like I say, she feels like doing something, I'm going to pull on the leash, she does it. She feels like going here, she goes. And there's nothing wrong with it sometimes. But what we want to start doing is really as if she was in, military boot camp. Give her so many rules and structures, so that's all she's thinking about, and then slowly we can give a little bit more, a little bit more normalcy.
Now, I'm hoping this concept is making sense to you. It's probably the single most important thing someone needs to understand to train their dog. Everyone tries to approach dog training problems from the problem standpoint. Very few people approach their problems by first creating the right mindset with their dog. So as I've shared with you so far in your training videos, we've got to first understand what we're doing wrong, then we've got to establish our baseline, and now it's time to get to work. But I've got to give you the blueprint first, right? In your next training video that you'll get in a few days, I'm going to show you how this all comes together. But right now I want to outline for you exactly what you're going to do during the next 60 days. Follow this exactly, and I promise you that you'll see a complete transformation in your dog. In the program that I'll share in your next training video, I outline a daily plan for success. But right now, I'm going to break up the next 60 days into 9 weeks. Take notes if you can. Week number 1 is the most critical. You've got to get started on the right foot if you're going to have success. You're going to see more in your next training video, but week 1 is all about barriers and self-control. You see, this is where almost all dogs have problems. They see a person, they want to jump. They see a dog, they want to bark. They see a chair leg, they want to chew. They hear a doorbell and they want to scream and bark. Whatever the problems your dog has, they all begin from a lack of self-control. In our first week, we begin establishing that self-control by teaching proper crate manners. I know this might sound silly, but how your dog goes into the crate, how your dog comes out of the crate is incredibly important for success. Teaching barriers at the door with proper door manners. This is huge. This is huge for establishing proper walks. This is huge for establishing focus on you and leadership. Teaching barriers through proper leash manners. No pulling. You'll see in week 1 that this is something that we address, and in almost a few minutes is about all it takes to get just about any dog to stop pulling on the leash. Teaching the dog to work for food. Now, I've never been a treat trainer. I'm not a big fan of using treats in training because the dog becomes entitled, and soon you find the dog only being obedient just because you've got a treat. But there's a big difference between that and using food as work. Teaching your dog that your dog actually works for the food that he or she gets. I show you how to do that in week 1. Conditioning your dog to training equipment. This is a big mistake that people make. A lot of people, whether it's a treat or a leash or a collar or whatever, they only use it during the training, and they soon find that the dog's only obedient during those times. So I show you how to properly condition your dog to training equipment so that soon we can have your dog being obedient with or without a leash, with or without food, etc. Teaching barriers through place. Place is a great command, and I sound like a broken record with it. Place is where we teach the dog to go to bed and just stay put. Because people will ask me, how do I get my dog to not beg at the table? And I'll say, let's just have him lie in his place. How to get my dog to not bug my guests? Let's just have him lie in his place. Or I'm trying to watch TV or eat dinner. How do I get my dog to not sneak away and pee on the floor or chew on something? Well, let's just have him lie in his place. The place command can become incredibly powerful. Another thing I teach is always wearing the leash. Now, this is just something we do in the beginning stages, but this is incredibly powerful to tether the dog to you in the beginning stages so that your dog's not sneaking off and that you have the ability to teach and to train your dog. Please don't overlook the power of week 1. Do this right, and every other week gets almost easy. If you can do each one of those steps the right way, boy, the next 60 days becomes super easy. This leads, of course, to week 2. We're going to teach sit and down with the leash. Even if you think your dog already knows it, very few dogs really actually know it. It's been rare occasions in my training career where upon meeting somebody for the first time, they can say sit or down, the dog will do it the first time, and the dog will stay put, even with distractions. So almost every dog I know understands sit and down, but very few dogs actually do it the right way. I'm going to show you how in week 2. We're going to start using a long line to teach the recall. So many people make the mistake of simply telling their dog to come and thinking their dog should do it. We use a long leash to teach the dog exactly how to do it. And then we also in week 2 teach mind games using the nose. And these are really fun for both you and the dog, but they're a great way to help with distraction problems and anxiety problems by giving your dog an outlet using their nose. Week number 3, we're going to begin with the e-collar. Now, not everyone uses the e-collar with this program. For those that don't, they're going to start using the tab leash at this point. And so I encourage people to use the e-collar, but if you don't, you're going to use the tab leash right here. We're going to teach the e-collar for recall, the e-collar for the place command, the e-collar for the wait command. That leads us to week 4, where we're going to use the e-collar for sit and down. And we're going to make progress with the rest of our core behaviors. Our core behaviors are what I mentioned before, where we've got a dog who comes properly, stays properly, and walks properly. Those core behaviors allow us to manage almost anything. Week 5, we're going to use the e-collar for off-leash walking. How cool would that be if you have your dog walking off-leash in your neighborhood or on a trail? And we're going to take our recall off-leash, where first we teach it on the leash. I'm going to show you exactly how to now have an off-leash recall out in your yard or at the park. And then during this week, we're going to make sure that the rest of our core behaviors can be done off-leash as well. That leads to week 6. Time to add some distractions. We're going to start making it more and more difficult. This is one of the biggest things that no one ever does. And there's some very simple things that I show you in week 6 on how to accomplish this. But most people I meet, they teach the dog sit or down or what have you, but they never proof it around distractions. Probably because they don't know how to do that. And so if your dog isn't sitting and lying down and heeling and coming when called when there's distractions, it's almost useless for your dog to even understand those things. So I show you how to add those distractions and get your dog to be obedient even with those. And we're going to continue with our off-leash work during this week as well. Week number 7, time for a field trip. At this point, every dog that we've taken through this program understands all of the obedience, is doing it great on and off the leash, and now it's time to up the ante and make it even more difficult. In fact, you'll see in our week 7 video where we take dogs off leash to shopping centers, tons of people, tons of distractions, and these dogs who have only been training for 6 weeks are able to be highly obedient, even off leash, even with tons of distractions. Your dog can do it too. In fact, let me even give you a little taste of what happened here. This is 2 days after Thanksgiving, completely off leash in front of a Walmart. Look what she does, and I'm going to actually fast forward a little bit here because she puts the dog down for a couple minutes while she actually goes inside the store amidst that group of people. You see her walking around kind of trying to be a distraction. But her little dog, who just previously would bark and lunge at everybody, she puts her off leash in the middle of such a huge crowd, and look how good her dog did. Her dog overcame some huge obstacles in order to learn how to be such a good girl. This is something that your dog can do too. Week number 8, we're going to do some customizing for the home. Things like door manners, things like making sure the house training is going how it should, the destruction is gone or just about gone, and just really making sure that everything that we've been learning is being applied properly in the home. And then, of course, our last week is week 9, and that's where we're going to bring it together and plan for the future, meaning that now that your dog is great, we've transformed your dog, how do we keep your dog that way? In the next video that I'm going to show you, we're going to work more on how to actually put this together. For right now, though, I encourage you to think about how to establish your dog's baseline and start working on that as you start planning your next 60 days. Let me tell you, though, you may be thinking right now that you've tried everything with your dog. You may be thinking that your dog is too difficult. This is something I hear a lot. You may be thinking that you don't have the ability. Maybe you don't think you're a very good trainer. You may wish you had a great and well-trained dog, but that something is getting in your way. With what I'll show you in the next video, I can guarantee you that you can get this done. As always, I would ask you, if you've learned something new or been reminded of an important concept for training your dog, I would encourage you to like, comment, and share this information. Thanks for watching, and make sure to watch out for your next training video in just a few days. Talk to you soon.